'cause that's my everyday. In the mind of a medic.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Medic's Mind, the podcast. I'm your host, as always, Matthew Hennigan. Thank you for tuning in. Today's episode is another special one for me. Recently, as discussed in my previous episode, I had the incredible honor of being awarded the British Columbia Medal of Good Citizenship. And as part of receiving that award, I had somebody from CBC reach out to me and ask me for an interview. So this episode is going to feature my interview with CBC Daybreak Kamloops, and I'll be sharing the bulk of that interview with you. It is recorded from their side, so the vocals you will hear are not the same as you hear right now. It was a phone-in interview. I phoned in, they recorded it, and they did an amazing job. I am so grateful to them for giving me the opportunity to once again share aspects of my story and explain just what this honor means to me. Receiving this medal really highlights to me the importance of sharing your story, because it's something that I always espouse on my podcast anyway, but it's sort of tangible recognition that sharing your story really does have value and merit, and that it will reach people far beyond that which you could ever imagine. I have made connections with people that I would never have imagined and thought of, and it has enriched my life in ways that I will probably never be able to fully comprehend or explain. So if you or someone you know is in a position to start sharing stories and telling their story to others, please encourage yourself and them to do so, because I promise you it has weight, it has merit, and it has value. So that's what we're going to be doing on this episode of the Medic's Mind podcast. But before we jump into that interview, I'd like to take this opportunity to thank the amazing team over at CBC Daybreak Kamloops for inviting me to share my story, to discuss this recent honor. The interview really captures the essence of how fortunate I am as a human being, how lucky I am as a man, and how grateful I am for the way my life has turned out. I got to speak about my best friend, Drew, and how he nominated me for this prestigious award. And I also get to share in the ceremony with Drew as he's coming down to Victoria to be there while I receive this award. And so is my wonderful Sheena and the two kids, Claire and Olivia. I get to live out a fantasy moment, guys. It's not often we get to say that, and it's not often we get to do it. And I have the opportunity, for whatever reason, a wretch like me gets to live out a fantasy moment such as this. And I cannot express to you what that means. It's crazy. So, yeah, you know what? I'm going to stop rambling. Let's just get right into that episode. Here is the interview with CBC Daybreak Kamloops. Let's go ahead and listen to the interview. I hope that you enjoy it as much as I did.
What does it take to be a good citizen? Kindness, generosity, selflessness? The province has just announced this year's recipient of the British Columbia Medal of Good Citizenship. Among the 18 people honored is Matthew Hennigan of Falkland. Matthew is a veteran, author, and podcaster, and we have him on the line. Matthew, hi there. Thanks for making some time for our show this morning. Good to have you here.
It's absolutely my pleasure, and I'm grateful to be here. Thank you so much.
Can you tell us a little bit about how this medal came to be?
I have been fortunate enough to have a best friend that's been with me since about grade 6. His name is Drew Litke, and he's among this world's very, very best. I can assure you that. He's just one of those sincere guys you meet that don't come along in life every day, and pretty blessed to have him. And he put a nomination in for me just on the basis of the fact that I do public speaking engagements, and I wrote a book back in 2019 that kind of chronicles addiction and post-traumatic stress and other things, and I generally give that book out. I generally don't do it for money or remuneration. I just kind of share the story because I feel like that's the most important part, is getting getting the conversation out there and sharing the story and letting people know that you're never quite as alone as you think you are. And he felt like that was of some merit, and he kind of did his research and found this medal and submitted a nomination for me, unbeknown to me. And all of a sudden, I got that phone call from Francis, and here we are.
Wow. I know. Can you tell us a little bit about your life? I know that you were born in the UK, you immigrated to Canada, and you ended up serving in the Canadian Armed Forces as a medic for 6 years. Tell me a little bit about that journey and how you eventually were diagnosed, I know, with PTSD.
Yeah. So growing up was a little complex. My father was arrested when I was quite young and removed from our home for abuse and other things like that. So I had grew up in a single parent household, but my mom also got sick for most of my formative years. She had cancer and also battled mental health complexities for quite a long bit of it. And so we really didn't grow up with a lot of money, and I was quite distracted in school. Obviously, you just worried about different things, I think. And so when it started to get near the end of school, around grade 10, I started thinking about, well, what am I going to do after high school? And I had seen on the news, I'd seen Canadian soldiers serving over in Kosovo and Bosnia, and I'd seen a soldier with a Red Cross on his arm, and I kind of was curious because he was also carrying a weapon, and kind of curious about that because my only knowledge of medics in the military at that time come from, World Wars I and II and Korea and stuff. And so I started researching what medics do in the modern army. And it really felt like a calling to me. It felt like something I really wanted to do, was to be in a position to help people no matter what the political situations were, just to be able to have some skill set to do something. So I enlisted. I went through all the process of going to the Colonial Recruiting Station, doing the aptitude tests and all that stuff, and it led me to going to basic training in Saint Jean, Quebec, when I was 18, and then subsequently being stationed aboard in Ontario, where I commenced my medical training, which took roughly 2.5 to 3 years. And it saw me go from Ontario to Chilliwack, BC, back to Ontario, to finally being posted to Edmonton, Alberta, where I served out my 6.5 years. Wow.
And I know you dealt with alcoholism along the way and addiction. Can you touch upon that?
Yeah, alcohol was unfortunately a fairly prevalent thing in my household growing up, and being in the military as a young guy, it's also a way to kind of let loose. So it just sort of perfidiously worked its way into my sort of daily habituals. I found myself drinking more and more, but I never really felt like it was a problem because I was still young and I was still fit and still doing what I needed to do within my military duties. But we suffered a few losses from our unit in the military, and I found that I was drinking a bit more after they had passed. I remember the day that Corporal Michael Starker was killed, and the unit was informed back in Edmonton, and I took that one really hard. He was a really great guy. Again, among this world's very best, and so I started consuming quite heavily, and then I was also going through some relationship issues at that time as well. And so the conversation came up about me releasing from the military. So I did. I put in my request, and it was honored. And when I got out of the military, I became a civilian paramedic, and that also comes with its own pitfalls and complexities as well with respect to showing up to traumas and accumulating traumas. And so I just continued that destructive behavior of drinking and nulling everything with alcohol, and unfortunately got to a point where I was no longer in control of it. And so I just kind of fell into a bottle there for a while.
You have turned all of this around, and you're a podcaster, a writer, a public speaker. You've won this incredible award for the work that you've done. Why did you think it was so important to share your experiences with other people? Well,
I think for a long time I lived in sort of this echo chamber of depression and bleakness. I really didn't think of hope, and I really didn't think I was going to live for very long, to be honest with you. And it wasn't until I met a very skilled and very empathetic therapist. I'm not sure if I can use her name on the radio, so I won't. I didn't actually ask her permission, but I credit this woman with saving my life, just because of the conversations that we would have and the skill that she had to navigate me through certain trauma confrontations and certain, pointed conversations where she pointedly asked me, "Hey, do you think you're an alcoholic?" And I had to say yes. And then she said, "Well, what should we do?" And so she led me into a trauma and addictions rehabilitation program in Ontario called Bellwood. And I attended that. And for me, once I started to get some clarity and sobriety, and I started realizing that the stuff I was sharing online with respect to my writing was reaching people that I probably never would have ordinarily met. People in the United States, in the UK. I had somebody from Italy message me. He was a police dispatcher, and it made me realize that I'm not quite as alone as I thought I was. And that means that there's other people out there who might feel quite alone as well. And if they somehow manage to come across my voice or my writing, maybe they too will feel a little bit less alone and understand that, what we go through is not unique. It's just uniquely our own.
Matthew, there's so much more we could talk about. I think I could probably have you on for a whole hour, but I know you've got a latest book or a newest book released this spring called Woven in War, and people can find out more about you online. And in the meantime, I just want to thank you so much for being part of our show, and congratulations on the BC Medal of Good Citizenship.
Well, thank you so much for having me, and thank you for your time this morning. I sincerely appreciate it.
And that is Matthew Hennigan. He's been awarded the BC Medal of Good Citizenship. We reached him at home in Falkland.
Man, every time I get to share a story like that and have an interview, it makes me question, is this really reality? The fact that they want to talk to me, it's crazy. I hope that you guys enjoyed that interview as much as I enjoyed being a part of it. Reflecting on that conversation and what the medal represents, once again, I am inflated with gratitude. Gratitude for the people who've supported me along the way, for those who continue to share in this journey with me, and for the chance to make a difference no matter how big or small it might be. It's important to me to keep giving back because I've had people give me and gift me so much to get me to where I am at this present moment in time in life. And I find that it is so important to give back. So if today's episode resonated with you, I encourage you to share it with others. Let's keep the conversation going about the importance of community, about the importance of service, about the importance of supporting one another. Next week, I will be taking a week off, so there will be no episode on Tuesday. The reason being is I will be in Victoria receiving the Medal of Good Citizenship, but I promise you there will be pictures, there will be video, and there will, of course, be a podcast to follow just as soon as I get home and have time to collect some thoughts together and write down a bit of a show script so that I can explain to you guys what happened and how it was. So until next time, you guys be well, be safe, and above all else, keep talking to each other.
Journey with me in the mind of a medic. Journey with me in the mind of a medic, 'cause that's my everyday.